to give this over to Sarah then to begin talking about specific application details. You're muted.
Thank you. As Rebecca said, I am Sarah. I'm the Executive Office and Administrative Specialist in the Department of Political Science. I've worked in the department for about 3.5 years now. It'll be my 3rd year helping the undergraduate committee with the scholarship process and season. I provide administrative support to them, so I make sure that they have all the information they need to review applications, and I'm familiar with the criteria that they use to evaluate applications. So I am actually going to switch over to sharing my screen to show you the application if you haven't already taken a look at it. So you should see here, I just opened up the 2021-2022 Political Science Scholarship application. This is the general application form. And what it is it's a general application for applying for all of our general scholarships being offered. We have 10 scholarships available for students to apply to. This year, we have both need-based and merit-based scholarships being offered. We take financial need into consideration for all of our scholarships, including our merit-based scholarships. But this year, we are offering our Robert Putnam Political Science Undergraduate Scholarship and the Wolfsburg Family Scholarship based solely on need. So that's probably the biggest difference between previous years and this year is we're considering scholarships for students who only want to be considered based on their financial need. So when you look at the form here, there's a lot of information up front that you'll want to review, including the eligibility, information on scholarships available. We provide more information about that on our website. General expectations of recipients, and then some basic information, and then you clarify if you want to be considered for our need-based scholarships or need-based and merit-based scholarships. The scholarship itself, I have like the whole scholarship application listed right here. If you were to apply just for need-based scholarships, you'd be asked only a couple of questions. If you're applying for merit-based scholarships, we ask for additional information from you. And then you're also asked to upload certain materials, including a personal statement, a resume, a transcript, and a writing sample, which is the purpose of this workshop, to go over all that information. But what I wanted to highlight here on the scholarship is the eligibility. So I break down that the difference between a merit-based scholarship and the need-based scholarship is, the initial criteria that help you determine whether or not you're eligible for our scholarships. The merit-based scholarships have a minimum 3.2 GPA requirement, and the need-based scholarships have a minimum 2.5 GPA requirement. Both of them, however, require that you are a declared political science major, and you have to have completed one upper division course. That's a 3,000 or 4,000 level political science course. And that what we mean by completed is that it's not currently in progress. So you finished it fall 2020 or earlier. It's not a course that you're taking this spring. And we require that for both of them. So those are, the basic criteria for our scholarship. So if you meet those for the merit-based scholarships, I think you should really consider applying for the merit-based scholarships. If you meet the 2.5 GPA, you should definitely apply for our need-based scholarships. Is there anything else you'd like me to add, Rebecca, before I hand it back over to you?
No, I think that's really great. I just want to go back to our presentation here, and I'd just like to synthesize a couple of those points from Sarah and a couple of other general things. First, I just have some basic info. There's 10 available scholarships. The application opened on February 5th and it's going to close on March 5th. As you could see from the application that Sarah just showed, it's overall a pretty short process. We're not going to ask you for an extensive amount of information, and the information that you do provide us, I can assure you, will be worth it. There is lots of money available, and it's only one application for all of these scholarships together. And as you can see, if you fill out the application and get some money, stonks, life is going to be great. So just wanted to give you this basic information. And there are also student expectations for when you fill out the scholarship application. After you complete the scholarship application, if you do get the scholarships, we do expect students to complete their coursework in the following semesters for which they're receiving the scholarships and maintain progress towards their degree. So if you do finish early, or if you choose to, take a semester off or something, we do expect you to communicate those items with us. And finally, at the bottom, it does note that each student will be asked to write a thank you letter to the donors of the scholarships. So let's say you got the Wolfsburg Family Scholarship, you would be asked to write a letter to the Wolfsburg family. They'd provide a template for that for you. It wouldn't be too difficult, just to thank them for the money and tell them what it means to you. A synthesis on needs-based scholarship information, just like Sarah said, you have to be a declared political science major, declared through our department. You would have had a 1 hour long session with us called a major declaration session. If you did that recently, that's absolutely okay. As long as you've been declared and have that meeting with somebody in our department, that's fine. If you haven't done it, make sure that you do get this done before March 5th, because if you're not declared yet, like if the appointment's just set up, that won't count for us. We do ask that you have a minimum of a 2.5 GPA. If you're kind of teetering on the edge of a 2.5, like you have a 2.49, also feel free to fill out the application. We don't want students to think that if they're, close to the threshold, that we will automatically throw their application out the window. All applicants will be considered, but we are really shooting for this 2.5 GPA. However, it is required that you have completed one upper division political science course, 3,000 or 4,000 level. We also ask that you not be graduating this summer. If you're only going to be here for one semester next year, you can still get scholarships. Just make sure you're communicating that with us. And the two applications that will be need-based only will be the Wolfsburg and Putnam Family Scholarships. And I would like to note that while it's only 2 scholarships and it doesn't seem like a lot, those are actually 2 of the largest scholarships in the department. The only thing that you need in order to fill out the need-based scholarship form is your student ID, confirming that you've done an upper division course and overall GPA. Just so you know, we will be confirming this within our department by checking your record. So please don't lie about it on your application. We will know. And I also just want to put a note in here that the department, while we are working on limited funds, will do our best to help as many students in an equitable way as possible. And with that, I will hand it over to Trent for need-based scholarships.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trent. I'm super excited to be here with all of you. I graduated in May 2020, so pandemic graduate, solidarity with all of you. We're going to talk about the merit-based scholarships. I'm ready for the next slide. Awesome. So eligibility, as mentioned by the other 2 lovely speakers, you have to be declared. Minimum of a 3.2 GPA, but same thing, if you have a 3.15 or something, don't let that stop you from applying. Have to have completed one upper level course and not graduating before the fall semester of the upcoming year. And again, if you are finishing in the fall, just communicate that. I was in that boat where I thought I was going to finish in the fall, and you just have to a little bit back and forth involved in that, but it's still possible. Next slide. Cool. So there's a little bit more that goes into it. So you have to complete the online form that Sarah showed. So student ID number, your major GPA, and confirmation of the upper division coursework. A personal statement, which is what we're going to spend the bulk of my time talking about, your resume, unofficial transcript, and an academic writing sample less than 5 pages long. So for the writing sample, recommend doing a piece of work that you're proud of. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that directly correlates with like your broader career goals, or like if you want to go do law, but this paper was about not law, like still submit that. It should be a piece of work that you're proud of and that you got a good grade on, preferably. It's something that you wouldn't have to go back and edit or tweak, something that you're like, I was proud of this. This did great. I'm going to submit that as something that represents myself and my work. Resume, make sure it looks nice, have people look at it. There's a myriad of resources available throughout the university for that. And again, as Rebecca mentioned, don't lie about your GPA because you have to submit your unofficial transcript and they also confirm that. And the personal statement is what we're going to focus on because it allows you to really humanize yourself and share a lot of more like qualitative pieces to yourself as an applicant that they may not otherwise see. So there's a lot of power there to make a compelling narrative to get yourself some money. And there's some links in this presentation as well that they can forward you for the Writing Center and Career Services, which have a bunch of resources to help support the rest of these application materials. Cool. So for the personal statement, they ask to provide 1 to 2 pages that clearly and specifically address how a scholarship would be beneficial to you, taking into consideration your financial situation, academic background, interests, goals, and your career interests. So it feels really broad and really vague and really specific at the same time. Again, the goal is they're trying to understand like why all these other data points create you. The personal statement helps the committee determine who receives scholarships, which scholarships you receive, which that has you have less control over that, and that's kind of also like not much of your concern, and how much money you receive. So this is your ability, even in the merit-based context, to demonstrate why a scholarship would help you keep on the track towards these goals that you kind of have a history of working towards. So these are some questions that can help guide you. I also created a PDF that kind of has the top lines of everything I'm going to be going over in this for you to reference after this, including some of these prompts. But one of the main things you should be considering is what effect would funding have on your ability to study abroad, accept an unpaid internship, work less so you could rest more and do better in your classes or focus more on your classes. Elaborate in concrete terms on this potential benefit. I think that's one of the most critical points, is that it shouldn't just be like, I want this money so I have less debt. Why would less debt help propel you forward? Right? Like, well, it may be obvious without saying it, like you want to make that very plain to them in as specific and unique terms to yourself as to why having this financial support supports you in whatever capacity. Don't assume that they're going to read into that and be like, oh, they can rest more and then they can do that research thing that they told me about. Make it really clear, really plain. Some other questions involve like, do you plan to do research with a faculty advisor? And again, you don't have to have that lined up presently. They're just trying to see like, what are you thinking about for your future? Other interests that you have, career goals, if you want to go to graduate school, things of that nature are all things they want to learn about because they want to help you help yourself, but you got to let them know what's going on in your noggin. So these are kind of some points that in looking back at my personal statements that got myself awarded some scholarships through College of Liberal Arts and the Political Science Department. These are some things that I think allowed to grant me some structure that made it really effective and compelling to the committees that reviewed my materials. Who you are, so, and what motivated you get here. So like really like where you came from. So this would be any personal identities, lived experiences that kind of informed you and like propelled you to be a political science student right here, right now. And then part 2 is was what the bulk of I focused on, was where I am now. So talking about student groups I was a part of, research I was doing, a class that really like changed the way that I viewed the world or my studies or my career trajectory. And then for 3, like talking about where you're going. And throughout this presentation on the personal statement, there's a lot of disparate points of like graduate school, career, it's going to be whatever is important to you. So if one of those points doesn't feel compelling or applicable to your narrative, that's okay. What's going to make this like coherent and compelling is the fact that you're the person tying together the 3 points of where you came from, where you are, and where you're going. So something that also helped me is to think like the committee, and the main question that they're going to be asking themselves and the other people on the committee is like, why this person? Why should we give this person money? Why do we want to invest in their future? So for me, I found it, and this is also applicable, is like, show how you're invested in yourself and others. I know a lot of us are drawn to political science because we are drawn to some form of public service or another, or feel indebted to being in service to others. So really highlighting that to the extent that it's applicable to you, I think is really helpful to be like, by helping me, we're helping uplift others as well. So yeah, show them that they should invest in you by showing them you're invested in yourself and your community. And I did that through my introductory statement. So this is a direct quote from my personal statement that I used for both the political science and college of liberal arts scholarship applications. So I said, my career goal is to be an immigration attorney specializing in cases involving LGBTQ clients. As a queer, third-generation Mexican American, I feel a moral obligation to utilize my education to create a more just and equitable world. Thereafter, I spent the rest of the time talking about past experiences that I had. So when I switched to political science, I was certified to teach English to adult immigrants and refugees. And then I studied political science. I focused on global politics. I talked about coursework I did, volunteer work I did, what I was actively doing that kind of shows that I've been working towards goals, and then kind of painted a picture of like where I wanted to go further and how this money would help me keep chugging along towards those goals. So this is kind of what I identified as like my recipe for success. Yours could look different. Within those 2 pages, there's a lot you can cover or not cover, but this is kind of how I compiled it to create what ended up being a compelling narrative for the committee because I was awarded scholarship money. So 25% financial need. So I had to work throughout college. I took out loans in college. So by having less debt and less and more financial assistance, I was able to focus on my studies. I was able to rest a little bit more, which helps me do better, helps me have more time to go to office hours with professors. Like more money in college buys you some more time to focus and be more intentional, to look for other applications for graduate school longer, to do all of these things. So whatever is applicable to you and your goals is what you want to focus on. Talk about why this money is going to help you in as tangible ways as possible, not just like, oh, I have to work less. Why is that important? What does that mean to you? What does working less mean? Identities and lived experiences, right? So I brought it back to myself. Like my experience growing up as a queer Mexican American informed why I studied political science in the first place. It informs how I go about a career in public service and where I want to continue. That's going to be applicable differently and to different extents for each of us. But for me, I found that really helped to guide and ground my narrative. And for the final part, and for the bulk of it, is focusing on what you've been doing or what you're about to do as it pertains to academics, career, extracurriculars, goals, part-time jobs, etc. Again, bonus points if it's a commitment to the greater good. This wasn't stated anywhere explicitly in the materials, but again, much of our professors and mentors in this work are guided by a sense of duty to the public. So I think that just helps make it more compelling. And again, financial need and lived experience, identity should all connect back to why you're pursuing this. If anything, your goal should be to impart upon the committee your why. Why are you here right now? Why are you studying this? Why do you want to go be a lawyer, human rights expert, what have you? And why will this money make the difference for you? And then I'll pass it back to Rebecca to talk about this lovely additional scholarship opportunity that involves some service.
Yes, so our department is also in charge of the A.I. Johnson Scholarship. It is a separate application process. It's a separate application, and we have the link here on the slide. And while this application does include a little bit more work, the A.I. Johnson Scholarship is really geared towards a student who plans to do a public service internship over the next school year. So firstly, I would like to emphasize you don't have to have this internship lined up yet, but it will ask you after you receive the scholarship to complete a 400-hour public service internship. 400 hours does seem like a lot of hours. It seems very overwhelming, but once you break that down and do it over 2 semesters, it's actually only about 13 hours a week. So there's a couple ways you can go about this. You can do a political science related internship, and then you could also enroll in POL 3080, which is which is our department's internship course, if anybody's ever taken that before, or you can just choose to do the internship and not receive course credit for it. It's important to note that this scholarship is open to undergraduates of all colleges and all majors, not just political science. Our department just happens to be in charge of administering this scholarship. The final point I'd like to make about this is that there is a lot of money available in this scholarship, about $10,000, and there's not a lot of applicants. In fact, the last 2 years, nobody has applied for this scholarship and nobody has gotten this scholarship. So I really want to encourage folks, if you're thinking about doing an internship next year, especially one related to nonprofit work, public service, even if you don't have that lined up yet, that's perfectly fine. Start filling out this application. You will need 2 letters of recommendation. At least one of them will need to be an academic reference, like a faculty member. But if you already have good faculty relationships and you are already planning to do a pretty large internship over 2 semesters, then you've already done the work you need to do in order to get this scholarship, and you should really apply for it. I can't recommend it enough. It's a really great opportunity, and it's not one that people take advantage of very often. I would also like to talk about, sorry, my computer is just lagging a little bit. The CLA scholarship application. The College of Liberal Arts also offers scholarships. Their application is actually quite similar to our department's scholarship application, in which it's not very work intensive. They have a lot of money, and it is just one application for all of their scholarships. So theirs closes a little bit different than ours. It closes on March 15th. And their only requirements are that you're in the CLA, you're in good academic standing, and you are going to be enrolled for the next school year. They'll also ask for a personal statement. You're already making a personal statement for the political science scholarship application if you choose to fill it out. So why do the work twice? Apply some of the work you've already done into filling out the CLA scholarship application. And what I will say about the CLA scholarship application that's really nice about it is they don't have very hard GPA standards. As a student myself who had a really low GPA for quite a long time due to extraneous circumstances, I did appreciate that CLA was still willing to give me scholarships, and those scholarships have helped me facilitate a better academic career in my final year as a senior in the political science department. So I really do believe, I do earnestly and ardently believe that students should be filling out all of these scholarship applications, or at least the ones that apply to them specifically. It is free money, and luckily they don't take up a lot of work, and the work you put in will be worth it. We do try and give out as many scholarships as possible to students, especially in the Department of Political Science. If everybody applies, if everybody in the department applies, we're not going to give each person $5. Of course, we know that's not going to be very helpful. But some of the larger scholarships, especially, we will split between multiple students to make sure we're giving students both a decent amount of money, but also that we're helping students as many times as possible. So I think after that, we're just going to open it to a Q&A. You've had the chance to look at the scholarship application with Sarah and to learn about the eligibility with me, and then some of the information you're going to be asked for from Trent. So with that, we're going to open it up to the floor to all of you, especially those of you who came in a little bit late, to ask any questions you have and see if we can really help you through this process, especially getting started. I did have a poll at the beginning that says, has anybody ever filled out this application before? And only one of you has, so that means that 5 of you are brand new to this. And I will also stop recording at this time just to maintain the anonymity of everybody who chooses to ask questions.